Good day to you all, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to round one of the 2022 season of Master Race Cars E-Challenge, presented here by the SimBroadcast.tv team on Twitch.tv. My name is Travis Mehlinger. I'm joined once again by Tom Jones. This is going to be a very exciting event today. We are thrilled to bring this to you. We will have cars on track in just a moment for the Super Pole session, the top six from the previous qualifying session in the background. This race today is on a custom layout, Southeast City, one of the layouts on our fictional South London track. There you can see the map on your screen right now. A long start-finish straight using part of the South City sprint course into a 90-degree downhill, tricky left-hander at turn one, a sweeping turn two onto the motorway, and then a winding through the streets in South London before coming back onto the proper South City circuit that everyone is familiar with. Tom, we got cars going around in the background as we speak. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Electric cars, lots of torque at the low end, very little grip. They're running around on R4s for this dry, low-wind qualifying session. First car coming around now to start a timed lap in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. It's quite different to what I'm used to commentating here with you. So it'll be a nice change and interesting to see how these drivers manage to handle this.
All right, now we've got Carlos Montoyotis on track right now, struggling to get these tires up to temperature. We saw him in the barriers just a moment ago. Lots of wheel spin at the back. The tires are cold, makes lots of torque at very low speed. But we can see him coming through this short straight, a few sweeping bends before he will negotiate a very tight left-hand hairpin to come back onto the sprint part of the circuit and start his timed lap. Misses the apex there a little bit, but now he's on the power, coming through this sweeping bend. Up the hill, he'll come over the crest and over the timing line to start his first lap.
Yeah, long run down there on the straight. He's gonna have to worry about the tire temperature as he's going round now on his qualifying lap. He's going to be trying as hard as he possibly can, but with the R4s, it's going to be struggle to hold the temperature for it.
Looking pretty good so far. Negotiated the first sequence of bends pretty well. A little bit wide, not wide there, but losing braking traction at the rear of the car. Here we can see him coming through this sequence of more or less 90-degree bends with sweeping entries and exits. He wants to be mindful of the throttle, avoid braking traction on these very slow speed corners. See Carlos Montoyotis now coming through this 90-degree left-hand sweeping bend before this little right-hand kink down the hill and into this left-hand corner, about half throttle. And now another short straight before a slower right-hand corner, uphill onto this concrete, very slippery, keeps the car nice and tight on the barrier there so he can get a good entry into this very long left-hand corner. It's been reprofiled in this custom layout to flatten it a little bit. Doesn't have the benefit of the banking that we're accustomed to seeing on the inside of the corner. Now hard on the brakes in this little kink, gets the car slowed down very close to the barrier there. Nice line through that tight hairpin corner. And he will come up the hill to set the first timed lap. This is one-shot qualifying, so this is his only chance. This will be the first time we see in the Super Pole qualifying session a 1 minute 20.56, well off the benchmark that we saw in the earlier qualifying session. So we watch Nico Patola come around now. While we watch Nico come around, we can talk about the car a little bit. Tom, this is the E-Challenger. It's an electric car. This is a mod for Lift for Speed made by Michael. That's MRC Michael. 250 kilowatt, roughly equivalent to 335 brake horsepower. If you go look at it on the mods page, it'll tell you it's about 400 horsepower per ton. So pretty quick. Car weighs 833 kilograms, lots of weight from those batteries. It does regenerate some energy through regenerative braking. So we watch Nico Patola in the background starting his timed lap now.
Yeah, I think the target there want to be going for pole position is going to be a low 18, a high 17. So Sean Lee in the previous session did an 18:55, and that put him a second fastest in that first session, I believe it was. So I have to see if Nico Patola can get anywhere near it. I've just been told that the fastest in the previous session was an 18:47. So let's see what they can do in comparison to that. All sorts of sideways through there. That's not going to help his time.
Nice big drift coming out of that corner there. Hard on the brakes, the regenerating the power doesn't matter as much in this session, but they will want to get accustomed to using the regenerative braking to make the power last as long as they can. Nico negotiating these corners here. This corner in particular that he just negotiated is very tricky. It's easy to break traction. This corner clearly even trickier. He goes very wide on the exit there. keeping it tight on the barriers here. He tapped the wall on the way in, so that's going to compromise his entry and exit speed. And we can see these are very difficult to drive with the low grip from the R4s and then the massive torque at the low end. So while we watch Nico complete this lap, we can talk a little bit about how the race session will go. So right now in qualifying, these cars get 250 kilowatts of power. They will cut the power for the race, so they won't have as much power for the race. And there is a chance of rain. Obviously, in Live for Speed, there is no simulated rain. We don't get the full weather effects, the standing water on the circuit, but they will simulate rain, or they simulate a chance of rain. And if a wet session is declared, these drivers will run around on road supers. They tend to heat up very quickly. They don't offer much grip, far less grip than the R4s. So should we see rain, air quotes rain, in one of these later sessions, it will be wild indeed for these drivers. We saw a few practicing on the road supers in earlier sessions. Jared Mead in particular, we were watching him, and he was very good tiptoeing around on the road tires. But that is another factor that could come into play during the race.
So Nico managed to go fastest in that previous lap, so let's see how Almeida can do in comparison to him. There was a lot of little mistakes Nico made, so let's see if Almeida can get back up there. He had a nice little tap on the apex fruit and then loses the rear end on throttle, so it's already finding it difficult to push this car to its limit.
So far looking, I spoke too soon. I was about to say he's looking a little bit better than Nico. Not quite as quick as we're accustomed to seeing some of the faster drivers get through there, but it was neat and tidy until he slapped the wall. Nice and tight on the barriers here. You can see all of the tire tracks where drivers have been losing the rear of the car going around that bend. Nice and tidy through here, looking pretty good. A little, puts down some rubber for us on the exit of the corner. These corners here are the most difficult ones on the circuit, or appear to have been from our observations during the practice and earlier qualifying session, where the drivers have to modulate the throttle. The corners are off camber a little bit, so the car already low on grip with these R4 tires, the contour of the course, and just being on medium throttle with all of this torque at relatively low medium speed makes it very challenging for these drivers.
Yeah, here we come now. Just one final corner to go. Nice and tightly round the hairpin there, using the apex, holding it nice and tight round the right, and then just powering all the way up to line. Let's see where he can put himself. And there's the line there, and he just misses out on that provisional pole position, taking second so far.
Yeah, not too far off from Breno Almeida, a newcomer to the MRC New Dimension Racing Series. I don't know that we've seen him before, so a pretty impressive first performance from him as we watch Gabor, one of the favorites, doing well in the MRC BF1 League at the moment, now coming to electric cars. We saw him with this very robust tire warming technique in the practice and qualifying sessions. Nice tight line through the final corner. On the power, up the hill. Leave plenty of space to the wall. He wants to keep it tight here and shorten the track as much as possible. And then he'll go hard on the brakes for this tricky downhill left-hander. He's got to lean out of the brakes to make the corner, just clips the barrier on the inside. Nice, smooth exit. Tight on the left, just misses the barrier there too. And now onto the concrete into this series of 90-degree left and right-hand corners. Tricky braking here because you have to brake just after leaning out of the throttle. Now through this right-hander and uphill through this left-hander. The car really wants to get away. We can see him go very wide, just tap the wall with the right rear corner of the car. Nice and tight around the red barriers here. Sets the car up for the next right-hand bend. Nice and clean here, avoiding putting down too much rubber. He would like the heat in the tires, but he also wants to use as much of the grip as he can without braking traction. We can see him sweeping through this left-hand bend, tires squealing, struggling for grip. Keeps it nice and tight so he can set up a nice straight braking onto the concrete here. Hard through this left-hand bend. He wants to get the power down as early as he possibly can, but it's going to be tricky on the concrete. Nice exit, doesn't put any rubber down on the pavement, uses all of the power without braking traction. And now coming into the final corner, this is going to be a good lap from Gabor. Tight on the barrier on the left, now tight to the barriers on the right, coming out wide to the exit and up the hill over the crest. I expect this will be provisional pole position, Tom.
Yeah, and he is indeed 18.75, full 3/4 of a second faster than Nico Pantola. Really fantastic. You saw Gabor keeping that car nice and under control, not getting too hasty on the throttle, and it really paid off with that lap. It's a fantastic show from him there. We've got Sean Lee now on screen, coming around this final couple corners. He's still got the big hairpin, the tight hairpin to go at the end. but he was, of course, second fastest. I believe it was in the previous session. So let's see if he can replicate some of that pace he had there and see if he can get himself up onto that top step here in this Super Pole.
Sean Lee, another one of the favorites in this session. As Tom said, very quick in the earlier session. This is trickier for Sean than it is for other drivers because he's driving with mouse. And these drivers, because there's so much torque from the electric motor and because they want to conserve energy, doesn't matter as much in this session, but Sean will struggle to conserve energy because he can't modulate the throttle like his competitors can. Nice drift on that sweep into that left-hand bend on the power, putting down a little bit of rubber, but looking smooth through this sequence of bends. Uphill to the left here. Big drift out to the wall. Just keeps it off the concrete. Nice show from Sean Lee. Don't know if this will be as quick as Gabor, but it will be pretty close. Sean looking really good despite the challenge of his control scheme. Out to the right here. He'll want to pitch the car into the left. Just modulate the throttle as much as he can with the mouse. Downhill here. Hard on the brakes. Tuck the car into the left. A little bit of a drift on the middle part of the corner, but keeps it off the wall on the exit. Now on the concrete, nice and tight here on the right, leaves a little bit of room to the wall on the left so he can enter the corner here, getting the power down as early as he can. Lots of rubber from both rear tires. He's going to come over a huge bump here. We can see the car jostling over the concrete, and now he's going to take kind of an early entry into this corner, but looks really good. Tight through that left-hand hairpin, tight through the right-hand sweep, and up the hill. This will be good from Sean.
Yeah, Sean,
over the line now.
Goes pole by 200ths.
Yes, Tom, 1873. Nice lap from Sean Lee. Just pips Gabor. That is a tall order. We thought Sean Lee would be one of the favorites coming in because he's put in so much practice, and he is on the provisional top spot right now. Tom, we see Jimmy Vertinen coming over that big bump right now and into the final corner. Jimmy is the favorite. He was the champion, the champion from the first season of the MRC E-Challenge. Coming up the hill now. Tom, take it away.
Yeah, so he's just got... These are the results from a previous... Jimmy Vertinen here, coming in through turn, first couple corners there, keeping it nicely pitched round, using the apex and all the track possible. On screen is the results from the last MRC E-Challenge that happened. As you see there, he won by 55 seconds. A absolutely dominating victory. Flowing nicely through these twisty corners, keeping the car nicely pitched around. He's not getting too close to the barriers. He's keeping it nicely under control on the throttle as well. This is a really clean and smooth lap. As I say, that huge slide, narrowly avoiding the wall, but getting the car back under control and going the way he wants it to go. I was saying, Travis, definitely the favourite, and from what we are seeing, he is putting on a fantastic lap here.
He is. He wasn't. He was pretty competitive at the top in the earlier qualifying and practice sessions, but Jimmy, other than that one big slide, looking pretty good here. Early entry into the corner, looked like he got it a bit wrong on the brakes, but manages to make a nice line into that long left-hand corner, over the bump here, over the curbs on the left side, and hard on the brakes for this final hairpin. He also takes an early entry into this corner like Sean did. So tight on the barrier there, and now up the hill following the curbs on the right side of the road. He'll come over the crest, and we will see if he is able to snatch the top spot or if Sean Lee will have pole position. Only third for Jimmy Vertinen, about 1/10 off, but not good enough. Sean Lee will take pole position for this, the first round of the 2022 MRC E-Challenge.
Yeah, I wonder if just getting that entry wrong is what cost him the pole position there. So the top six that we'll have for our race is Sean Lee on pole position, followed up by Gabor. Jimmy Vertinen there getting that third place just ahead of Nico Pentola. Then Almeida and...
That's Carolus Matioitis, Tom. We'll continue the theme of Tom struggling with names. I even reviewed them with him before this session. So everyone feel free to make fun of Tom in chat as we are here on stream. Everyone in the world knows that Tom struggles with names now. All right, I think we've got a moment to talk about what we will see in the upcoming event. So you can see the graphic on screen there now. This is round one of the MRC, the Master Race Car E-Challenge 2022 season. If you're just tuning in, it's on a custom layout on the Southeast City Circuit. Uses part of the South City Long Circuit, part of the South City Sprint Circuit. A custom layout meant to mimic a typical FIA Formula E circuit. There is a chance of rain, so we talked about this earlier on. The organizers will simulate a probability of rain during this event. In the first part of the event, I believe the chance is pretty low. We will go check on that. But later on, 70% chance of rain. And in the simulated rain conditions for this event, the drivers will have to go around on road supers rather than R4. So R4 is the spec tire for qualifying and for dry race sessions. But if it is declared wet, they will go around on road supers. And judging by the practice drivers were doing earlier on road supers, it is a wild ride with all the torque down low from these electric motors and these medium and slow speed corners. There is just no grip on the road supers. So requires the drivers to be very delicate with the throttle, very careful control of the car. It's a little bit like watching drivers go around on LX6s, but this should be very fun to watch, even in dry conditions. But if we get wet, then it will be wild for everyone involved. Waiting in the background for the organizers for race control to set the grid. To review the top 6 from the Super Pole session, Sean Lee on pole position with a 1 minute 18.73 second lap. Gabor just 2/100ths of a second behind on 18.75. Jimmy Virtanen rounding out the top 3 on an 18.82. Then Nico Pantola starting 4th. Brenna Almeida, one of the newcomers, starting in 5th. And Carlos Matioitis starting 6th. We're waiting for the directors in the background to start the session, set the grid. So we will take a break for a few moments and be right back. Welcome back to round one of the Master Race Car E-Challenge, first round of the 2022 season, presented by simbroadcast.tv. My name once again, Travis Mehlinger, joined by Tom Jones today, and we've got a few things to talk about while we're setting the grid in the background. Sean Lee has sent us a whole bunch of notes, did a lot of reconnaissance and a lot of research for us, so we have interesting things to tell everyone about, much the same way that Number Zdravko Deponiak does for the BF1 races. First would be that he's told us that the race should be about 32 to 34 laps without a safety car. Obviously, that could change if we have a session declared wet. He projects that the lap time will be in the 1 minute 40s. Tom, I think a safety car seems likely here. You like to make safety car predictions. We had one come true in BF1 last weekend, though we've missed on races in the past. Curious what you think about a safety car today.
Yeah, so I'm going to edge my bets for first lap in one of two places. Either turn one, where everyone's coming in to the first corner on nice cold tyres, first heavy braking zone. We've got a lot of cars on the grid, so that's my first bet for a safety car would be there. And then my second bet would be, call it the backup prediction, will be turn four. You'll come round the sweeping turn three and then having to get on the brakes nice and hard for the 90 left of turn four. I expect we could possibly see some people going into the back of someone else, and then a few ended up in the wall, which could bring out a safety car there.
Maybe one of these days we will graduate to being popular enough for people betting on this. So we'll see if your predictions come true. Drivers readying up in the background, so we're getting pretty close to these cars rolling off. There will be a grid presentation. We'll see that on screen in just a moment. The other one is that Sean told us, though this is true from the very start, that the cars get very difficult to drive after 10 laps. So if they look challenging to drive on the first couple laps on these R4s that don't get much heat in them and don't offer much grip, apparently it gets even more hairy after 10 laps. So we will see about that. We do have cars on track right now. You can see Sean Lee on the left of your screen in pole position. And now we have an MRT on circuit, which we should see shortly on the stream. This is the grid presentation car. We see the lights coming up now. The MRT will lead the grid around for the presentation before we start this event. My apologies, driving up the grid in order to see the cars. In order to read out the order here, we've got Sean Lee on the left side of your screen in pole position, just 200ths ahead of Gabor on your right. Jimmy Virtanen in third position. Newcomer Breno Almeida there on the left in fifth position. That was Nico Patola there on the right, just missed him. And then in sixth, Karolis Matiotis. Jared Mead on the left side. And then on your right, the number 64 machine. There, on the right, we've got Adam Brown in the number 8 machine, and then Martin Kapal in the 46. On the right side, you can see the number 3 machine, Pablo Saitone, and then we should have Lorenzo Lucidi in the number 18. On the right, the number 21 machine of Alejandro Tres Palacios, and then in 15th position, Elder Kadrich in the 99 machine. Number 10 on your right, Victor Paulo, one of the many Brazilians starting this race, and his countryman on the left side, Lucas Rosa in the number 19. Isaac Williams in the 52, another relative newcomer, one of the 2 British drivers in the field today. And then on your left, the race green machine of Ronan Kronpush, the very recognizable number 96. Another one of Sean Lee's teammates, the number 11 of Nikolai Ivanov. And then on the left, we've got the 71 machine of Leandro Vargas. On the right, there, the number 69 machine starting 22nd of Thomas Yannisaitis, another familiar name. And then on the left, the purple number 5 machine of Ramon Hornos, another newcomer for the Born to Race team. There, the 28 machine starting 24th is Malcolm Delbury. Talked about him a lot in the BF1 race a couple weeks ago. Hopefully he has better luck today. And then on the left, starting 25th, the number 23 of Ayub Elanuni. Well down the order today. The number 44 there on your right, Guillaume Herrera starting 26th position. Another Pixel Air Attack racing machine, teammate to Sean Lee. And then on the left, we have Guillermo Herrera. Sorry, my mistake. Jeff and Jakob there. Then on the right, Mateus Sanchez in the number 95. On the left, starting 29th, Wolfgangus Gudis in the 41 machine. Another newcomer, and then the 14 alongside him of Federico Silva. Now the last row of the grid, we've got Hassan Talia Unsal, another MRC driver in the number 6 car, and at the very back, another Brit, the number 61, Jamie Tressiter. And in just a moment's time, we should see the lights come up for these cars to roll off and start this event. Still waiting for the presentation car to come off in the background and waiting for race control to announce the lights coming up. There we can see the lights on the screen. No lights coming on yet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And here is the start. We've got Sean Lee, got away well on the right, but somebody, it was the green car, I couldn't tell who it was, missed the start entirely. Gabor able to get away in the lead just ahead of Sean Lee. Sean Lee on his tail coming through this sequence of bends. Sean Lee on the power in the slipstream, going to look to make a pass and retake first position. He is side by side with the Gabor coming through the sequence of bends. Thinks a little bit better of running side by side through this corner, but does the over-under in the left-hander. Now coming through this sequence of sweeping left and right-hand bends. These two running side by side, giving each other just enough respect. Sean Lee going to run Gabor all the way out to the barriers. Nearly secured first position. He's got it. Sean Lee away from the start, fell down to second position, but has reclaimed the top spot from Gabor. A tall order, well done. Sean away in first position as they negotiate the final corners on this first lap.
Yeah, just look back down the order here a bit. We've got all the other cars that come sweeping on through. See so many cars. It's going to be a very busy track today, and just going to have to be careful with the numbers of cars out there on track. Of course, with Gabor having a much better start than Sean Lee, I think that's probably due to being able to get the throttle rate modulated properly while launching, so he got a much better jump. Sean Lee did a fantastic job to fight on back and take back the lead of the race. See the two of them very close there. Gabor nearly going into the back of him, very close through the hairpin, and giving Sean a bit of a runaway as Gabor has to take slight avoiding action of him.
Here we go up the hill. Sean Lee is going to lead the first lap of this race. We can hear Gabor. You can hear him off throttle coasting and saving a little bit of energy. He doesn't need to carry the extra 2 or 3 kilometers per hour down that straight. He'll want to save as much energy as he can. Sean told us before the start of the race that one of the keys to success, there's a bit of a schmozzle in the first corner. Looked like a car was about to go around sideways. I think that was Vitor. No, it wasn't Vitor. It was the car ahead of Vitor who went sideways. Looked like the cars could have gotten bunched up and stuck in the first corner, but that car that was sideways able to get away. We were talking about Sean Lee just a moment ago. One of his keys to the race was drivers taking care of the available energy, trying to set a target lap time and hitting that lap time consistently to make sure that they're making consistent energy consumption and not using it all, driving as hard as they can early in the race. Going to be more difficult for Sean Lee than it will for these other drivers. Again, he is a mouse driver. There are 8 or 9 mouse drivers in the field today. It will be more difficult for them to manage energy consumption than it will be for the drivers who are using a throttle pedal.
Yeah, we just saw in the background there a little bit of a collision in the back. We've got a huge little fight here going on for, I believe this is 4th place, I think it is. Jimmy Ferguson sweeping past nicely and getting past a couple of them there to take that position. I think he's now up to 3rd. Adam Brown following him on through the gap that he managed to create. Just jumping on now to Jared Mead as he's tucked nicely under the back of the car ahead. You see nice and tight in there with these cars, running the halo to keep the drivers nice and safe as he's looking up the inside, going for a move into the braking zone here. He's able to make the gap work, and the car on the outside there just couldn't get the car stopped in time and ended up clattering into the barrier on the outside. All of this though is letting the guys ahead just run away.
Yeah, we can see from that onboard shot with Jared Mead how clever they have to be driving these cars. Jared modulating the throttle just ever so slightly, giving it a little bit more throttle while he was leaning out to make that corner, able to get ahead in the braking zone and then capitalize on his competitor's mistake. Following Karolis Matiotis now in 4th position, trailing one of the Sidus machines. That's Nico Pantola, who's trailing his teammate Gabor in 2nd position. And Jimmy Virtanen, we saw him struggle to get away from the grid and had a little bit of a collision with somebody, but was able, as we can see now, able to get away in 5th position. He'll want to move up the order, gather as many points as he possibly can to defend his championship from the 2020 season. Looking back to Lucchini running in 8th. He was in the wars a week ago in BF1s, but running well today. Here we can see him nice and tight. This great onboard shot following Jared Mead ahead of him. Was able to get through the Almeida machine just a few moments ago that Jared passed on the previous lap. We see Del Marie in that very bright purple machine. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, he's having a nice good old fight there, really scrapping it out, having a nice in the back there. It's just three of them there, nice and close together. He's missed the apex slightly there, but it shouldn't hinder him too much in the background. And the car's behind. He's got quite lucky because they're battling away, which is just letting him run away and try and get some space. We're jumping up to Sean Lee here, who has pulled a very nice gap on Gabor there, 3 3/4 of a second up ahead. He will, from what he was saying, he's going to struggle from about 10 laps in, he reckons, with tyre wear. He says the fronts get very unresponsive for him. So we're going to see if he can keep this fantastic pace up after all those laps. As we've got a really big 5-car battle here. Now, realistically, all for second place. They're all managed to bunch up, and so this could develop into quite an interesting battle we've got going on here.
Yeah, this looks to me like Gabor is managing his pace and setting putting down a consistent pace. He wants to run laps in a very narrow window to make sure he is using the energy as efficiently as he possibly can. A little bit of a gap now to Nico Pantola behind him. Nico was a bit closer just a few corners ago and has dropped back a little bit. The cars are, as you said, Tom, getting backed up or bunched up behind Gabor. But I don't know that this isn't on account of Gabor having an inferior pace. This is Gabor managing as Jimmy Virtanen takes a look, really late on the brakes, trying to get under Nico Pantola, just manages to avoid a collision and also keep the car out of the barrier. Scary moment for Jimmy Virtanen, though he is through Carlos Matioitis, up from 5th to 4th. Adam Brown trailing this pack in 6th. I chatted with Adam briefly before the race, and we agreed that the key might be to just stay out of trouble. There are so many cars on track, high chance for a safety car, though Tom's prediction has not come true, thankfully. We want to see cars doing green flag racing. The key to this race be staying out of trouble and could secure a strong finish. Adam Brown capitalizing right now on just consistency and good pace, running in 6th position, up from his starting position a little bit further down the order.
Just as she was saying, giving Adam all that praise, I saw him run wide and hit the barrier slightly. Just like to point something out, I don't know if anyone's picked it up, but there's damage to the front of Jimmy Virtanen's car. It's quite a bit, looks like on both sides it's been bashed in a bit. It's definitely not as symmetrical as when he started the race, but I don't think he picked up much more damage from his little collision or avoidance really into the final corner.
Watching Carlos Matioitis now with Adam Brown ahead of him, up to 5th place. He and I talked about making it a top 5. He is now in the top 5. Great shot from the front of Carlos Matioitis' machine following Adam Brown, as we see. That's Ivanov letting the pink machine through. I couldn't see which car it was. That is the number 6 machine of Ramon Harnos. And we got Vargas coming through now. Here we go, looking back to the number 5 machine, who just put down, a little bit of contact in the background. Pixel Air Attack machine going backward in the middle of this pack right now. Jimmy Virtanen, while we were looking at that fight, has taken 3rd position, got past Nico Pantola, and is now behind Gabor.
It's quite clear he's got one thing on his mind, and it's to get up ahead, and he's doing his best for it.
Now, while we were watching that, lots of action going on the circuit. Lucchini was able to get through Almeida there, or is that Jared Mead? The order just now shuffled, so I can't tell who that was. I think it was Jared Mead he got past. So Lucchini going well today in that green and white 18 machine, off in pursuit of his competitors ahead of him. Looks like he might be able to catch up Carlos Matioitis. Carlos not as quick as his competitors in front. Watching all of these drivers starting to spread out now. Gabor now 5.6 seconds behind Sean Lee. So Sean Lee not saving, or appears to not be saving as much as the drivers behind him. Gabor falling back, Sean Lee running hard. And we've got Nico Pantola dropping back now, while Jimmy Virtanen moves up with Adam Brown on his tail. These two now harassing Gabor. I wonder if Gabor is a little bit smarter than everyone else and saving just enough to go the distance and have a little bit extra at the end, or if he's left it a little bit long, been a little bit too conservative, and has drivers who know more than he does, hungry to get through.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a difference in race strategy we're going to see here. I think maybe Sean might be looking at taking the approach of pushing hard earlier on, using a bit more fuel, a bit more of his charge early, and then just saving harder later on, which is, of course, going to cost him a bit more time. So I've just heard in the background, Adam Brown has been given a drive-through. He's causing a collision in turn 1 and lap 2, so he's going to have to go serve that at some point. Now, a drive-through penalty here is going to cost him about 40 seconds. It's a very long pit lane that they have to fit in all these cars. As he's stated that, he's going for a very optimistic move. Fantastically done there on Jimmy Verton. I thought he was going to try and get Gabor as well, but he managed to back out of that one. So a fantastic move up the inside there.
Yeah, great dive on the brakes for Adam to make up a position. He wants to get as far ahead. Oh, he's just collided with the back of Gabor there. That's going to let Jimmy Virton get alongside. I was about to say that Adam wants to make up these positions and buffer as much time as he possibly can since he has to serve a drive-through. These two running side by side, that's going to let Nico Patola get back through Jimmy Virtanen. Tried to go side by side with Adam Brown. Nico Patola pounces, thank you very much, back up to third, fourth position behind Adam Brown. And we should see Adam Brown dive for pit lane in just a moment. He hasn't yet. Oh, he does. No, he hasn't. He's still up ahead of. No, that is the Sidus machine up ahead. Adam Brown has come into pit lane. My mistake. Yeah, this is going to cost him a ton of time.
Yeah, being told as well with this that, of course, going into the pit lane here for his drive-through is going to cost him more charge. So that's not going to help his race strategy at all.
So as we watch Adam Brown come down pit lane, we switch ahead to Sean Lee, who has run away in the lead. He is putting tenths of a second on top of Gabor every single corner he goes around. Gabor, we just saw go through in position 2. In third position is Gabor's teammate Nico Patola with Jimmy Virtanen, the previous season's champion, in fourth, right behind him. A little bit of damage on the left front. Oh, struggling to get the grip. Lots of understeer going through that left-hand corner. Looks like the grip is starting to go away from these guys. Behind Jimmy Virtanen, Carlos Matioitis has caught up, is right on his tail in fifth position with Lucidi up to sixth. In seventh position, Jared Mead running a very good and consistent race. Well done from him with David Godge behind him in eighth. In ninth position, we have Elder Kodrich with the 68 machine of Almeida behind in 10th. Paulo in 11th. Pablo Saitone in 12th. Alejandro Tres Palacios in 13th. Martin Capal running in 14th. Malcolm Delbery in 15th. Yanisitis 16th. Vitor 17th. Rosa 18th. Newcomer Ramon Hormos in 19th. And Vargas rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, it's a very competitive race here. The top 20 is separated by just about 30 seconds, but from second to 20th, it's only 20 seconds, really. 23 seconds to be more precise. As Sean Lee has just run away at the front here. All this sort of kerfuffle that we had with Adam Brown has allowed Gabor to extend the gap a bit after Nico Patola managing to get back on past Jimmy Virtanen, and Gabor's found a bit of pace. He's getting away a bit, and Jimmy Virtanen's going to have to work his way back on past Nico Patola again. He's been right up at the back of him, really sniffing on the back of his rear diffuser. So I don't think it'll be much longer before we see Jimmy getting on past.
No, Jimmy, we've seen him through, even though he's got damage on the machine, so we know he's motivated. We also know he's quick. He was champion in the previous season. So I agree with you. I expect we'll see Jimmy come through any moment now. Great onboard shot looking through the halo over Jimmy's left shoulder. Following Nico Patola, who is chasing his teammate around. At the front, that gap is still, well, it was extended. It had gotten up over 7 seconds, now back down to 6.1. Maybe perhaps Sean got into the wall somewhere or has backed off a little bit. We'll keep an eye on him. But now these drivers bunched up again behind Gabor. Nico Patola right behind his teammate with a train forming behind him. Gabor, Nico Patola, Jimmy Virtanen, Carlos Matioitis, Lucidi, all there in a line. Great shot back from Gabor's machine. You can see the other drivers snaking through over that huge bump through that sweeping bend. And now leading these cars through that left-hand hairpin one more time, up the hill and over the crest to start another lap. About 32 minutes remaining in this 45-minute race.
From looking at Sean Lee's notes, he said he reckons it will be about 32, 33 laps without a safety car. So by my calculations, it's going to be around a 3% charge you want to be using each lap, as Delbury has just been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. I'm not exactly sure where it happened, but he's going to be having a very painful time following Adam on through the pit lane there. There we go.
We've got Sean Lee going around in our pictures right now, and I'm watching him in the client. Those tires are becoming stone cold, so exactly what he predicted. It's going to be very challenging to drive as these R4s just lose temperature. This car not quite quick enough to keep the temperature in the tires, not as much downforce, not as much grip, a lot of weight to move the car around, but not enough to really stress those tires. So they're getting chilly, the surface is cold, no pressure, no temperatures in them. So Sean Lee doing a good job to maintain this gap was up to 7, down to about 6, now back up to 6.5 seconds. So Sean making the most of a challenging situation, a difficult tire choice. Well, a compelling tire choice. They have no choice but to run R4s in this event. But Sean making the most of it as he comes across the line one more time.
Yeah, I wonder if he's built himself what he would like as a bit of a buffer, and is now just going to sort of try and hold it and save the charge a bit more if he can. As I believe another drive-through penalty has just been awarded to the car, number 14 car of Silver, for causing an avoidable collision. I believe that was. There we go.
Yes, indeed. There you can see it on screen. The Silva, the number 14 machine, Federico Silva, drive-through penalty caused an avoidable incident. So penalties changing the complexion of this race. We saw Adam Brown fell well down to the order, out of the top 20, was running about 24th or 25th. We'll see him on the timing screen again in just a moment. Should expect to see him come back up the order, but probably not into the top 5. Looking at Jimmy Virtanen, previous season's champion, one more time, following the two Sidus machines who have locked out the second and third positions. Nico Patola, Gabor running line astern, managing the race, managing their machines, keeping Jimmy Virtanen behind, who has now gapped Carlos Matioitis, has fallen back about a second or two with Lucchini behind. So at this point in the race, everyone managing, taking care of their energy reserve, trying to avoid the barriers, trying to avoid one another. Had some bumping and running a few laps ago, but now spread out once more. And these drivers now settling into a rhythm to make the energy they have last the full distance, another 29 minutes.
Yeah, I believe Sean Lee has overtaken the first lap car of the race, which is why he lost a couple seconds of his margin there. It caught him in a bit of an unfavourable position, and the lap car just took a couple corners to move out the way for him. Got Gabor.
Nice shots of Gabor.
Sorry, you go, Travis.
No, thanks, Tom. I was about to say, nice shot of Gabor, that nice tight shot with the machine, his car filling up the full picture, using all of the road he can, and the banking coming down the hill there. Still really close here. The top 4 getting through the lapped cars now. Traffic dutifully getting out of the way. We can see Lucchini and Matioitis getting through the lap traffic in the background. Oh, we've got Nico Patola taking a peek on his teammate on the brakes, so he wasn't dangerously inside his teammate going into the corner there, but now Nico Patola, maybe he wants to get through Gabor. Gabor obviously off the pace of Sean Lee, though, is making up time. Sean may have done a little bit too much too early because that gap is coming down. Also possible that Sean has struggled with lap traffic, so we'll keep an eye on him. In the background, Adam Brown, motivated after being demoted well down the order on a drive-through penalty, has just set the fastest lap of the race. So Adam Lee, the benchmark time, though, that will use more energy. Again, these drivers have a limited amount of energy. They can't recharge in pit lane, so they will have to manage whatever they started the race with and make it go the entire distance. Looking down on Eldekadrich's machine in P9 right now. Great shot of Sean Lee here. You can hear him completely out of the throttle, so he's not using any energy there. Coasting into that first corner. Won't lose much time doing that. The cars are very aerodynamically efficient, so he doesn't use any energy. We can hear him coasting over the crest here. That'll help get the car slowed down. Not much grip, so he wants to slow the car down to make that sweeping right-hand bend before that left-hander he just negotiated. Lifting and coasting into these corners, getting the car perfectly placed, carrying just as much speed as these tires are willing to give him, though it does seem like he is leaning out and using less energy. The tires perhaps giving him less grip because Gabor is making up that gap. It was all the way up to 7 seconds, now to just over 3. Sean fully on the throttle now to go up the hill here and coast into this left-hander. Gabor making up time with Nico Patola, his teammate, just 1 second behind him. So it looked like Sean was running away with this. He may yet have a race on his hands because Gabor is making up that time.
I do wonder if he possibly decided to do the push, and now he's trying to hyper save to make back all the energy he did use up. He does going to have to, it's going to seem a bit pointless to me if he does lose all the time back. I do have to wonder what sort of strategy he's trying to pull with this, and hope for him it does work out. But we've got the battle again for second. Currently only 3 cars we've got here. The 2 Sidus teammates are on board with Gabor here, just going absolutely down and long lift down the straight here. I do believe that could be the Sean Lee just ahead of him there. Not quite in the slipstream range, but he's taken another second out of him. So I think Sean Lee is doing a lot of coasting, trying to gain back, trying to get down his average consumption so he can make it to the end of this race.
Yeah, I suspected that maybe Sean was lifting and coasting a little bit more than Gabor, and that Gabor was taking more throttle into some of these corners. But we went on board with him there, and I don't believe that is the case. I think they are driving roughly similar strategies, with their right foot or or with their right index finger in Sean's case, because he's on mouse. But they appear to be driving, more or less the same. Gabor just taking a little bit of time out of Sean in every single corner. Again, that gap was up over 7 seconds, now down to 2. So Sean managing in front, but not managing quite as effectively as Gabor. Gabor catching them up with this train of cars behind him. The top 5 only separated by about 5 seconds. So we see Sean Lee come out of that long left-hand corner. Now looking back to Jared Mead running a very respectable second. He's a 7th, my mistake. He's got a nice buffer ahead and behind him, so he can run his own race. Oh, so we've got a collision just as we switch back. That was Harnos who's gone backwards. Vargas, sorry, who's gone backwards and rejoined in front of 2 cars, now going 3 wide through these bends. That was Ayub. Ayub hadn't appeared not to have done that much practice and was really struggling before the race, and now gets collected while he's just trying to manage. I anticipate we will see a penalty for Vargas, but we will wait to see what race control rules on that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what happened at the start to cause that, whether he got hit or whether it was just a case he turned in too soon. But of course, you got to be more careful when you're doing the rejoins so you're not ruining other people's races.
While all of that is happening, Sean Lee has extended the gap a little bit, so we know he listens to us. Maybe he's getting inside or outside information, as the case might be, and picking up the pace a little bit. So Sean clearly has the machine capable of going a little bit quicker and has extended that gap from 2 back up to 3 seconds. So managing the pace, has more in reserve that he's able to use. Down the order, Adam Brown was running in 5th, tumbled all the way down out of the top 20. Has since set successive fastest laps and is now 37 seconds off the lead in 17th position. He just took 17th after his drive-through penalty earlier in the race.
Yeah, he's working through the field nicely there. I think he's just got another position just as we finish speaking about him. Swapping back to Jimmy Burton here at the start, at the front here, with the 3 of them, line astern really, as another drive-through penalty has been given, this time for the 71 car of Vargas for causing an avoidable collision. Have to find out when that was, but
that was the one we had on screen just a moment ago, Tom.
Sorry, that's my bad. That was the one we saw, and he gets the nice 40-second trip through pit lane, which is just going to feel like an absolute eternity for him.
Yeah, well, lots of chatter going on in the background. Seems like there are a number of collisions that we haven't seen on stream. Lots of action. So that is actually, now that we've cleared it up, that was actually for an earlier incident. So Vargas may draw a bit more criticism and scrutiny from race control. That penalty for an incident on lap 10, and now he will have another one that we just saw that they'll be reviewing in a moment. Looking at Paolo now in that nice-looking all-blue number 10 machine in a small train here, running in 13th position. These cars running nose to tail through these sweeping bends. This looks really cool on this custom layout as we see it pass. Oh, that looked like it was going to be amazing late braking maneuver, but that was Tres Palacios was unable to get the car slowed down, now impeding the circuit, though avoided a collision. This is going to let Adam Brown, who just took 16th position from Vitor, catch up, take a couple more positions off Martin Capal and Tres Palacios in just a moment's time. As we see, there is an incident involving cars 23, 52, 71 under investigation by the stewards. That may have been the little Shamazel we saw just a moment ago. Yes, that is Ayub is the 23 machine. So that will be what we saw on stream just a few moments ago, being reviewed by the stewards. Looking ahead once more to Jimmy Virtanen. Tom, these guys they're still running 2, 3, 4, and Sean Lee has stabilized that buffer to about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to really get through there. They're just fighting nicely. As we swap back to Paolo, who's just been, I think he was looking to go around Saturno, and it just didn't quite work out for him. So he's still stuck behind the number 3 car there, as he's got the number 46 there right behind him still. I think it's down to 4 of them now. So we'll just have to see how it's going to keep going for them.
Yeah, lots of action on the track, and now you can see we've got the charge level for all of the cars on the track. And remarkably, I think we expected to see Sean Lee would have used more energy than the competitors behind him, and he's got a little bit less than Jimmy Virtanen, who is saving more than the rest. But Sean Lee, 1% more energy in reserve in his battery than Gabor. So Gabor is managing, and he caught up a little bit to Sean Lee. Perhaps he used that excess energy trying to close that gap, but Sean Lee managing energy really well, has more in reserve than Gabor running in second position. But Jimmy Virtanen appears to be in the catbird seat right now, has more energy than the three drivers ahead of him, so that could make a difference at the end of the race. Looking down the order, Lucchini has used so much more energy than anyone else. Well down, full 15-20% less than any of his competitors, so obviously struggling to manage. And as we look down the order, seems to be fairly stable around 47 to 50% energy, but a few standouts. Adam Brown, I expect, will struggle to go further up the order because he has used all that excess energy to get through pit lane and make up positions on circuit. Watching Jimmy Virtanen now. Ooh, looked like Nico Patola just got into the wall ahead of him. Jimmy Virtanen has a little bit more energy in reserve. I think he can afford to just sit behind the cars ahead of him and wait for a mistake or wait for them to have to start conserving before he can pounce and use that extra little bit to take these positions.
Yeah, with mentioning Lucchini there, with him only on about 30%, it's gonna make it very difficult for him to get to the end on that. He's gonna have to save like absolute mad now, really till the end. He's about 18% off the where he wants to be in terms of charge, so he needs to be far more careful with how he's using that now.
Yeah, you said early in the race, Tom, how much we expected for them to have in reserve when they cross the finish line. Remind us what that was, because I do not myself recall.
So we worked out it's about 32, 33 laps, so you're going to want to be using about no more really than 3% a lap. So, and then I think you also might have to do an in lap with it, so you're going to want that extra bit again. So realistically, you're not going to want to be crossing the line with any less than a percent of charge, or you're might see yourself in trouble.
All right, past halfway through the race now, about 19 minutes remaining. We just saw Sean Lee go through in front of the camera. As we look back to Gabor now, negotiating back markers. We have Sean Lee in the lead of the race, about 3 seconds ahead of Gabor, with his teammate Nico Patola immediately behind him, with Jimmy Virtanen right behind him. Nico Patola taking a look to the inside, hard on the brakes. The back marker to get well out of the way. Nico Patola has to leave room for 2 cars on the opposite side of the circuit, going side by side with his teammate. Nice shot over the tunnel. Can't see the cars, but we do really like the drivers really enjoy that feature. Nico Patola had a look at his teammate. Now thinks he wants to get through into second position. He might very well have the pace to get through his teammate, but unable to finish the job while they were negotiating the back marker. This lets Jimmy Virtanen get right on their tails, and these 3 cars going to be running line astern once again as they come through the final corner and then up the hill to start the next lap.
Yeah, I think we could be seeing, depending on how it deals with the hairpin here, we could be seeing Jimmy Virtanen going to look to make a move, but I don't think he quite had the exit of Nico Patola in front of him, so he's going to possibly struggle a bit to close up the gap to make a move. He is only 2 tenths behind us. You hear him there all the way off the throttle, just saving, using the slipstream and the aerodynamic features of this car to just pull himself along and not have to use too much charge to keep going.
Yeah, the sounds here are really good. We could hear Jimmy, even before he crested the hill, was leaning out of the throttle, using the slipstream, as you said, to stay in line here. Nice and tight on these guys. We saw coming into the hairpin, hopefully we can get that overhead shot again, because Nico Patola was so late on the brakes coming into the final hairpin before the sweeping corner uphill and over to the start-finish line. So Nico might be trying to get a little bit more energy back. These cars do have regenerative braking, so when they're on the brakes, they will gain a little bit of energy. We see on screen there from race control, Vargas, another drive-through penalty, unsafe rejoin from an incident. We saw that on stream a few minutes ago. So bad to worse for Vargas, the number 71 machine. He will go through pit lane once more, cost him more energy, as we talked about a few moments ago. It is more costly to go through pit lane. Looking at Nico Patola overhead, this great helicopter shot, nice and tight on the barriers. Nico Patola just a little bit cleaner than his teammate. He wants to keep the nose tight here and get a good exit. Doesn't quite. Gabor, a little bit better exit. Maybe we can see Nico Patola hard on the brakes on this lap as he was on the previous lap. You can see how quickly he closes under braking, just a little bit tighter than his teammate. But Gabor, really good on the exit. Nico late on the brakes, late into the corner. But Gabor managing the car just a little bit better and getting off of these corners more quickly, gapping his teammate.
Yeah, we're coming up to just 16 minutes left of this race now, and Sean Lee is still leading the way as Adam Brown is trying to make the move for 11th place work. It's not quite done there, got a bit too sideways, but he is nicely tucked up behind him here, so he's going to be looking to make a move here into the hairpin maybe. Yes, fantastic move done there. Excellent job, diving up the inside, perfectly managed. The drivers both very respectful of each other and giving each other the room that they needed to keep going. As we swap back to the front now of Sean Lee, just 3 seconds ahead. Got Kadrich now, I think, looking to make a move on the car ahead of him. And he's got Adam Brown hunting down behind him now.
Yeah, Adam Brown in the hunt, perfect on the brakes in the hairpin. Looked like he was about to get a kill on the car ahead of him going into the hairpin, but just got it slowed down in time. You can see him nice and tight under the boards there to get a good exit in this left-hander. He is all over Eldon Kodrich ahead of him, looking to the inside. I don't think Eldon Kodrich saw him. Oh, Sean, sorry, not Sean. Adam Brown had to back out of it. And now looking to the inside, Adam is much quicker than Eldon Kodrich. Oh, Kodrich into the wall. He went a little bit wide through that corner. It's really easy to wash wide there. There's just not as much grip as it seems like there will be. Adam Brown waited for the opportunity, able to pounce through without too much fuss, and now looking for 8th position with Yanisitis ahead of him and Kodrich now behind him.
Yeah, I think Adam sticking his nose on the inside kind of spooked Eldon Kodrich, so he dived out the way. Sean Lee going round the outside, I believe, of the back marker there, nicely managing to avoid any issues, but might cost him a little bit of time. Gabor there can see the guy ahead of him, but he's managed to gap Nico Pentola by a little bit, about a second, I think it is. Jimmy Verton is right on the back of him. He's not really let him have any sort of breathing opportunity this entire race. As we swap back now to the charge level, and Lucidi is really struggling on 16%. Sean Lee does have half a percent advantage, a full percent advantage, sorry, over Gabor there, who's down there on 34.5%. The top top three, sorry, are very close together.
Gabor into the wall. Nico Pantola just got into him as he came around the bend. I don't think he saw Gabor go wide there. The two of them came together on the exit of the quarter. Gabor manages to keep the position. Nico Pantola tucks in behind, but Jimmy Virtanen has to be loving this. Nico come together with Gabor, and Jimmy just watching these two, saving the energy, has a little bit more in reserve, waiting for these two to make a mistake or have to start conserving. I think Jimmy Virtanen is in the catbird seat.
Yeah, he's got about a lap more in reserve than the two of them, and I think that's happened because he's been in the slipstream the entire race. He's been stuck behind them. He hasn't really had too many opportunities to get on past. He did get past earlier, but when Adam Brown made the move on him, it did drop him back down.
So there are a couple drivers in danger here of not making the finish of the race as the Sidus machines are side by side one more time. Nico really wants to get past Gabor. Nico has gotten past Gabor. Hard to see from that long shot. Yeah, that is Nico ahead of Gabor now. Gabor now has Jimmy Virtanen all over him. Looks like Gabor might have something wrong with the car because he's just not quite had the pace of his competitors around him. He's managed to hold them up and keep them behind him. I think all of them just choosing to save energy behind Gabor, sit in the slipstream and conserve. But now Nico Pantola up to 2nd position is about the same amount of energy in reserve as Sean Lee, so he might be able to push. But Jimmy Virtanen, Tom, you said before we had that excitement just one lap ago that Jimmy Virtanen had enough in reserve. He's got about a full lap up, so in the closing minutes of this race, he should be able to push.
Yeah, I don't think he will have to worry within like the last 5 laps or so of saving fuel. He can use as much as he needs to get that gap and make the moves work. I don't think he'll be able to close in on Sean Lee, but we'll have to see, because I believe Sean Lee is coming up onto the back of a large group of back markers, so we'll have to see how willing to get out of the way all those guys are and we'll see what sort of effect that will have on Sean's lead. Of course, with this excitement we had with the battle for 2nd place, it has allowed Sean to extend the gap once again. It's now 3.5 seconds. All right, it's just dropped down a bit. I think Sean might have caught up onto the back of those cars, or he's saving a lot of fuel because it just dropped to 2.6.
Yeah, as you said, that was 3.5, now down to 2.69. So Sean has perhaps a little bit of flexibility here. If the back markers are kind to him, he could use the back markers to lift and coast, use the aerodynamic efficiency of the car to save a little bit of energy. But he will, if he's slow through the corners and has to get the power down, that's going to use ever so slightly much more energy. So Sean has to be careful and manage that gap, now down to 1.96 seconds. So this is the closest it's been since the very start of the race. Sean in lots of traffic, so lots of work for him to do. He's negotiated his teammate behind him. He's already through, I believe that was the 44 machine, but it was definitely another Pixel Air Attack racing car. Here's another one, his teammate letting him through, so now he is clear of the back markers on the brakes and into this right-hand bend. That will have given him a bit of a spook. His teammate hard on the brakes, a little bit late, would have come up into Sean's mirrors as these back markers now trying to get out of the way. Nico Patola trying to get through in the middle of the corner. Perhaps a bit impatient. Oh no! Nico Pantola trying to get through the back markers. The back marker didn't see him, and now there is carnage behind Nico Pantola. This will absolutely be a safety car. The back marker didn't see him, and they got together in the wall. A car flipped over in the air.
Safety car boards and flags. Safety car boards
and there
and
is
flags.
the safety car call. We saw Nico Pantola barely get through, even though that car was upside down behind him. We couldn't see where Gabor ended up. Jimmy Virtanen is on screen now, still credited with 4th position, but he will be crossing the line, just crossed the line in 3rd. So Gabor has fallen down the order. Jimmy Virtanen was able to get through. Gabor clearly had to avoid the carnage of all of the back markers going over the top. Gabor has damage. Tom, this completely changes the complexion of the race.
Yeah, that was a huge crash. I wonder, was it Nico Pantola that took a big hit? Because I knew he got through, and I don't know where he is now, because I saw him end up in the wall with the collision. But we'll have to find out exactly where he is. Made the call for the safety car. Did not expect it to be happening that way. This is the variation that happens when back markers are involved in such a large number that we have here today. I do believe the car is actually still upside down after that big crash.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, we got Mo in our ears now. That is Sanchez upside down, the Brazilian driver in the middle of the circuit coming up to the pit entry and that final hairpin corner. So came together with Nico Pantola. It appeared as though Sanchez didn't realize that Nico Pantola was going to be there, squeezed Nico into the wall. Nico somehow managed to get away without any, or at least much damage. He's in 2nd position right now. That could change when they come around to a green flag restart. But Gabor, behind all of that carnage, took a little bit of damage, managed to negotiate it and retain 4th position, but promoted Jimmy Virtanen up to 3rd. So the order, while we are going around under safety car, time will be added at the end of the race. But the order, as they run now, we will wait to see how much time they add, and we will wait for these cars to catch up to the safety car. Sean Lee, who has dominated this race, extended the lead early on and then managed a gap of about 2 to 3 seconds. Now has Nico Pantola right behind him. There's the course car protecting the stricken back marker of Sanchez. Sean Lee in the lead of the race with Nico Pantola right on his tail in 2nd position. Jimmy Virtanen in that carnage promoted to 3rd with Gabor Jura in 4th position. Carlos Matioitis in 5th. Lucchidi, this may have saved his race because he was well down on energy, using far more than any of his competitors, can now coast around at pit lane speed limits. He may just be able to save enough to get to the finish. Jared Mead has run a very quiet race in 7th position. Still there, David Godge in 9th. Adam Brown, this has also rescued Adam Brown's race. Fell down the order early on account of a drive-through penalty. Used a lot of excess energy trying to fight his way back through the order and is now up to 9th and saving while they go around behind the safety car. Yannisaitis in 10th position with Elder Kadric in 11th. Pablo Saitone in 12th position with Paolo in 13th. Martin Capal in 14th. Almeida in 15th. Ramon Harnos in 16th with Ronnie Kumpus in 17th. Ayub El-Anouni, difficult start for him, but has worked his way up the order a few positions in 18th with Vitor in 19th. Rounding out the top 20, we have Williams, the British driver in the number 52 machine.
I do have to say it as well. You're saying that the safety car might save them. They're gonna, if it was true, they're going to be adding time onto the end here. So last time we'd looked, he had about 16%. I'll be curious to see what he's at currently, because it might be too low to get to the end. So we'll have to wait and find out to see whether he's made a big blunder earlier or if he's actually going to be able to make it to the end. Because it's going to be a tall order for him.
So still going around under safety car conditions. Tim Donater driving the MRC NDR safety car around. Sean Lee right behind them there on stream. They still have a race control message up for the drivers telling them to stay right entering the last hairpin. So the stricken machine of Sanchez still not removed from the circuit. An instruction from race control just now. This is a theme we've enjoyed for the last few months in motor racing. Is the lap cars will not be allowed to overtake. I assume they will stick with that decision as they come around to restart the race. We still have cars going around under control of the safety car. Tim Donater bringing him through the penultimate corner now. With Sean Lee still in the lead, has commanded this race from start to finish. Dropped back to second position on the start. Gabor was able to get through in the first few corners, but Sean pushed him side by side through the back part of the circuit, was able to reclaim first position, led the first lap, and has led the entire distance up to this point. Sean turned a little bit early into the hairpin there. Looked like he nearly bonked the barrier, but is cleanly through. No call yet on when the safety car will be in. But this will be a challenge for Sean Lee when they restart. He has Nico Pantola all over him, and we know Nico Pantola is pretty quick because he was challenging his teammate on pace. And Jimmy Vertinen there, previous season's champion, in the catbird seat, just playing with his food, has a little bit more in reserve right behind these two in positions 1 and 2.
We just received confirmation that the safety car will be in this lap, so the driver's going to want to start heating their tyres up nicely with these R4s to be able to get some temperature in them ready for the first lap as it goes green again. Be interesting to see how much time we're going to have left when this comes back up, and whether Sean Lee will be able to put a margin big enough for him to be able to defend in the last few laps on top of the cars just behind. Jimmy Vertin, if I was in his position, I'd be licking my lips right now. He doesn't have to do too much to close the gap to Sean Lee. All he needs to do is get past Nico Pantola, and he has that energy in reserve that the guys in front of him just do not have. So this is going to be a very exciting few laps to the finish.
And this will be a true test for Sean Lee because we know he's quick. We know on his own that he has pace, but we've seen him occasionally struggle, in these fighting situations with racecraft. They've added some time waiting to clear. Oh, there we have it on screen. 5 minutes, 45 seconds added to the race time. So that would be about 2-3 more laps added to the race time. So Sean Lee now has control of the field with Nico Pantola under his diffuser, that huge diffuser on the beautiful Pixel Air Attack racing machine. Sean Lee, as I was saying, this will be a bit of a challenge for him because we know he has the pace. He's been very quick, but now he needs to control the restart. He needs to be mindful of the energy he's consuming while also keeping the pace up high enough to have Nico Pantola behind him. It's going to be more challenging on Mouse managing the throttle with these cold tires. So now we get to see what Sean Lee is made of. He's dominated this race so far. He's now going to bring them to a safety car restart. The safety car is in this lap. You can see that under the yellow banner at the top of the screen. Sean comes over the bump, weaving and warming these tires. In just a moment's time, he will be through the final corner and up and over the crest for the start-finish line to lead these drivers to the restart. Tom, take it away.
So coming around the final corner here, going to wait and see when Sean Lee is going to go. It is a long start-finish straight here, so he doesn't want to go too soon because then the cars behind are going to have the benefit of the tow all the way. He's gone on the exit of the final corner there. He's going all the way down here. He had a slight jump on Nico Pantola behind. The top three have jumped the cars behind and have got away nicely. Sean Lee has developed a nice enough little gap, but he did have a nice lock-up on the front right of his car into turn one. And the others have got through nicely. That heard a little bit of a scuffle back behind, but we'll have to see if they all get through nicely. Sean Lee has managed to develop a nice, comfortable gap ahead as we look at the charges available. Sean Lee on 24% leading away, and Lucidi has 3% left. That's not going to do much more than a lap or two for him. So I don't think we're going to be seeing him get to the end, as there's a huge little bit of contact and crash into the barrier. There goes one of the Pixel Air Attack cars. We'll have to wait and see for confirmation for who it is, but we'll find out shortly. See if he can get going again so we don't have to worry about safety car again.
Yeah, whoever, we couldn't see which Pixel Air Attack racer, it's Ivanov, was hard on the brakes, held the brakes, kept the car well off to the racing line, so everybody able to get through cleanly. Looking ahead once more to Sean Lee, 8.5 minutes remaining. He's got a nice gap over Jimmy Vertinen, who is side by side with Nico Pantola in the background, so the race is on for P2. Jimmy Vertinen has secured second position. Delbury will be out of the race. Lots of damage on that car. Lucidi has now run out of energy. He is out of the race. Adam Brown may just be able to squeak this out if he can save. He's fought all the way back up to 7th position, but he's about 7% down on his competitors around him. So he will have to do some cheeky saving and a little bit of defending to keep drivers behind him and secure this 7th position. But at the front, Jimmy Vertinen able to get through Nico Pantola in 3rd position with Gabor, Nico's teammate, in 4th. But Sean Lee still in the lead.
Delbury has also run out of energy at the back there. He is down, and I think He's dived into the pit lane. There we go. He has moved out of the race. He's done, really. That's him out of the race. We've got Sean Lee now, just has to defend from Jimmy Verton. He's got a comfortable 6 tenths of a second. He's got to hold that for another 7.5 minutes. If my calculations are correct, that's going to be about 5 laps he's going to have to defend for. And I think we have the +1 lap on the end there, so it's probably going to be a sixth lap he's going to have to hold. He just wants to hope that Nico Pentola is able to close up onto the back of him. He is doing a nice job to keep him behind, and we'll just have to see if he's got the energy charge to make it to the finish line there. Nico Pentola might be in a bit of trouble with this charge percentage. We'll have to wait and see and find out how well these drivers have managed it over the next few minutes.
Yeah, we know Jimmy Virtanen has had, a big slide coming into that corner and into the barrier. That's going to let Nico Pentola catch right up to him. We know Jimmy Virtanen has a little bit of charge in hand, but now he has Nico Pentola all over his mirrors. That lets Sean Lee extend his gap up to about 1.3 seconds. There, you can see the charges on the screen. Jimmy Virtanen has about 1 lap of charge in reserve, but now he has mirrors full of Nico Pentola while Sean Lee steams away with a little bit of help from Jimmy Virtanen getting into the barriers just a few corners ago. Sean Lee has just enough in hand, we believe, to make it to the finish of this race. Jimmy Virtanen, again, has some reserve, but now has to overcome his own mistakes in order to catch up to Sean Lee, while Gabor is now hunting for his teammate Nico Pentola in 3rd.
Yeah, Gabor's doing well to be able to hold that 4th place after that huge collision he had earlier on, which brought out the safety car. So Nico Pentola is really trying to get the hunt on, get back onto the back of Jimmy Virtanen in front of him there.
Yeah, looking down the order, all of these drivers look to be pretty close on charge. The top 3 should have it in hand, though Nico Pentola is pretty tight. We know it's about 3% charge per lap, 5 minutes remaining, so they need to finish 3 or 4 more laps and then have the final lap after time runs down. So it's going to be close for Nico Pentola. Will also be close for Gabor. Sean Lee and Jimmy Virtanen looking pretty good in front. Carlos Matuiotis will be a little bit tight with 14%. Jared Mead as well, also tight with 15%. Adam Brown will have to do some very aggressive saving, and he has a train of cars coming behind him. He, without extreme saving, is not going to be able to make it to the finish of the race. A spirited charge by Adam to reclaim those positions, and Adam is now coming down the order. He has realized he has to aggressively save in order to make it to the finish of the race. Has fallen from 7th down to 9th. Yannisaitis out of energy, coasting to a stop on the left side of the road here. Now going to move across, looking for one of he looked for one of the runoff areas there inside those curbs. Now safely out of the way. The pictures now show Sean Lee with Jimmy Virtanen not giving up. Sean should have enough charge to make it to the end of the race, but Jimmy has enough to drive very aggressively, use a lot more power to catch Sean Lee. The race not over yet with just less than 5 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Just heard as well in the background that the cars do not need to have any charge left after the race is finished. So we're going to say if the 4 laps to go, they're going to need at least 12% of energy to make it those laps. As on board, Ayub here, right on the back of, I believe it's Roni. So he's doing a very good job, tucked nicely under the back of them. As you can see, Roni is in the danger zone in terms of energy, and Ayub is not in a much better position himself. As the car behind in the background going very aggressively sideways. Both of these cars, I feel like, are saving a lot of energy, trying to make to the edge as Ayub is gone for the move. I think it's a sensible decision from Roni. If you're in that sort of red danger zone with your energy, you don't want to be fighting, you don't want to be pushing. He just needs to be saving.
Ayub has capitalized on this safety car. When we last talked about him just a few moments ago, before the safety car came in, he had moved his way up to 18th position, had gained positions from the start, but was still well down the order. Now up to 13th at just a couple laps time from the safety car restart as, Saitone takes a look inside Roni, nearly got together. Roni in the barriers a couple times. Saitone sweeps around the outside. Thank you very much. Off he goes into 13th position.
Yeah, there's a lot of positions to be made up further down the order here. I think Adam Brown is not going to be making it to the end of the race on 5%. It's a tall order for him with the amount he's going to have to use. He's going to have to save an awful lot. We've got Jimmy Virtanen here, he's close right up to the back of Sean Lee. He's got that 3% charge in hand, remember, so he doesn't have to fuel save like Sean Lee will have to do.
Estimating 4 laps remaining. We just got that call from race control in our ears, so Sean Lee is going to be pretty tight on fuel. 4 goes into 11 just less than 3 times, but they're about halfway around this lap. So Sean Lee going to be very tight for him to the end. Jimmy Virtanen has a lot of energy to play with. He can go hard all the way to the end at typical consumption and then a little bit extra. So Sean Lee, still in control of this race, has been in control from the very first lap, but he has mirrors full of Jimmy Virtanen now. Sean Lee, nice entry into that corner as Martin Kapal. See, we were looking at Martin Kapal now, who is up to 7th position. Looks like David Godge just got through him. Yes, there he is. David Godge up to 7th position, takes Martin Kapal. We look ahead to Sean Lee one more time. Jimmy Virtanen now all over him coming into the final corner. Sean Lee has to be very mindful of the energy he is consuming, with Jimmy Virtanen still right under, well, not quite right under, but very close behind him. Jimmy Virtanen will be able to save a ton here. Sean Lee is saving a ton coming into the first corner, but times it perfectly. Able to coast, position his car perfectly, just inside the racing line to keep Jimmy Virtanen behind him. And now Jimmy will have to follow it through these sweeping bends while Sean Lee manages the energy and tries to keep control of the top spot in the order.
Yeah, we've got about 2.5 laps to go now, so I think Sean Lee should be safe on the fuel he currently has. Adam Brown, I'm hearing, is probably going to run out of fuel this lap. Yes, he's got 1.5 seconds to go. It's not going to go well for him. Martin Kapal in front of him is also probably going to run out before the end of the race. There's a lot of them that have not managed their fuel correctly. So those of them who are just a few on, if they're on the same lap, charge, my bad. Those of them who are on the same lap, if they're within a decent amount of time, they could look to make up a large amount of positions. Elder Kadrich there, he's on 9.5%. He should look to be able to make up a good few laps, good few positions, and possibly look for a top 5 as a result of this.
All right, coming into the last couple laps of the race, we can see Jimmy Virtanen is all over Sean Lee. Sean Lee perfectly positioning the car and defending his top spot while also saving energy. So Sean Lee clearly wants to keep a little bit more in reserve. Yeah, Sean, oh, there's a back marker ahead, so Sean positions the car to keep Jimmy Virtanen behind him using the back marker. The back marker dives out of the way. Sean able to save tons of charge there while keeping Jimmy Virtanen behind him. Jimmy Virtanen doing everything he possibly can, but Sean Lee driving brilliantly to defend this position while also managing the amount of energy he has to consume. You can see the lap count there on screen, 34 of 35 laps, so when they come across one more time, that will be the final lap of the race. Tom, go ahead.
Jimmy Virtanen is also just set the fastest lap of the race, has he not? Oh, sorry, my mistake. The two of them have absolutely pulled a fantastic gap on the cars behind. Nico Pentola is falling back at an incredible rate. I think he just lost 4 seconds there, so we'll have to see if something just happened. But these two, the fight for the lead is nose to tail. Adam Brown has run out of fuel going down the start-finish straight. He'll have to pull off to the side there and try and get. Sorry, my mistake. I keep saying fuel instead of charge. These are, of course, okay, electric weapons, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We're not accustomed to saying charge, so it's... Jimmy Virtanen! Oh, Jimmy Virtanen made a dive there. Sean Lee. Sean Lee looked like he was caught sleeping there. He had enough fuel to make it the distance, and Jimmy Virtanen just pounced, was able to make a late dive there. They both had been coasting there. Sean Lee would do well to let Jimmy Virtanen by and make this a straight fight, which he does. Sean Lee is going to fight him side by side into this corner. Jimmy Virtanen pushed wide into the barriers. Oh, this is a little bit naughty from Sean. He dominated the race, and he was defending it so well. And now Sean doing a little bit of bumping and running with Jimmy Virtanen behind him. Jimmy looks like he has enough to get by Sean. Sean going to make this car as wide as possible, but it's getting a little bit ragged here at the end of the race. About half a lap remaining here on the final lap. Both of them have enough charge to make it to the end, but Jimmy, it's going to have a little bit more. Jimmy looks to the outside. He's going to run wide. Thinks better of it because Sean uses all of the track. Jimmy going to look to the outside, now making the pass on the outside of this right-hand corner, but Sean manages to hold the position, perfectly positioning the car, unlike the scrap earlier in the lap. Now negotiating this back marker. Jimmy Virtanen looking everywhere to get by Sean Lee, and now he's on the outside of this fast left-hand corner. Sean's going to run him wide to get into the back marker. So much going on. Jimmy going to make another dive to the inside here, and now Sean has completely cut him off. Very, very naughty from Sean. Jimmy's going to go to the outside here. I assume he will try to make another late dive into the hairpin, but the stewards and the race control are not going to think very highly of this. Sean lets go, decides to give up the position. Jimmy Virtanen is going to come through and win this race. Sean Lee is down to nearly zero charge. You can see 0.5% right there. Sean going to be coasting through the right-hand bend. He may not have enough to make it up the hill. He doesn't. Nico Pantola is going to come through and take second position. We can see the back marker. The back marker is going to push Sean Lee across the line.
That's Sean Lee's race done. He's not going to make it. It's just a bit further up there, and he's not going to get it. I think Nico just went through our camera there. I think it was.
No, that was a back marker.
Nico
Still
and Gabor
waiting
side by side, going each side of Sean Lee. Who's done it?
They're
so close. I think Gabor has done it. I think Gabor got him. He did. He beat him by 0.02 of a second as Sean Lee was just stuck there. So David Godge takes 4th place to the top 3. Sean Lee isn't even going to finish the race. Elder Kadrich, my prediction of him possibly getting a top 5 is correct. He swoops in to claim 5th place. All these people who have managed their fuel correctly have come through and been able to come straight back up the order and get some better positions.
Oh, what a breathless conclusion to that race. Sean Lee made a mess of his final lap. It looked like he was defending so perfectly coming into the final laps of the race, positioning the car beautifully. It looked like he was saving just enough, and then just lost his head in the last 2 laps. There we can see a race control message on the screen. Incidents involving cars 0, 1, and 88 under investigation. The number 1 car is Jimmy Virtanen, last season's champion, earned the number 1. And number 88, that will be Sean Lee, who won't finish the race, was unable to get up the hill, to crest the hill, and cross the start-finish line, will not be classified. At the end of the race, a very exciting finish as Sean Lee ran out while fighting Jimmy Virtanen on the final lap, who does take the top spot. Jimmy Virtanen in 56 minutes, 35 laps completed, does not quite have the fastest lap of the race. Looks like that went to Nico Pantola. But Jimmy Virtanen will finish first. Gabor Jura in 2nd position with his teammate Nico Pantola just a couple hundredths behind in 3rd position. The 2 of them splitting the stricken car of Sean Lee as they came up the hill. David Godge finishes 4th. Elder Kadrich, out of nowhere, finishes 5th position. Brilliant prediction by Tom to call that one. Pablo Saitone will finish in 6th position. Almeida in 7th, with Jared Mead finishing 8th, managing the end of this race very well. Ran solidly to take 8th position with Vitor in 9th, Ramon Hornos in 10th. Rosa in 11th, Williams in 12th, Carlos Matayotis finishes 13th. Sean Lee will be credited with 14th position, 1 lap down. He managed the race perfectly, and then it all unraveled there at the end. Ayub El-Anouni, very strong performance from him to crawl his way up from the very bottom of the order to finish 15th. Ronan Krompisch will finish in 16th position with Jeffrey Jakob behind him in 17th. Paolo finishes 18th with Adam Brown in 19th. Finished well down the order after running strongly at the beginning. Had a drive-through penalty, came back through the order, just didn't leave enough energy to finish the race. 19th position for Adam Brown. And Sean Lee's teammate Ivanov will round out the top 20. Tom, my God, a lot happened during that race, and then a lot more happened right at the end.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the most exciting races I've ever witnessed. The ending on that was absolutely crazy. I think Sean played a little bit dirty on that final lap there, which I think ultimately it didn't quite go too well for him with running out of power, just coming out the final corner. I think he just needed to lift and let that one be. And it was just fantastic to watch 2 Team Siders cars go side by side across the line with such a narrow margin between the 2 of them. And it was just picture perfect as they went each side of Sean Lee.
Yeah, I think it's the reverse Hakkinen and Schumacher there. There you can see the remainder of the order, 21st down to 30th position. Moreira in 21st with Gudis in 22nd position. Tredeser in 23rd. Federico Silva in 24th. Vargas in 25th. Dima Dionysitis in 26th. Malcolm Delbury in 27th. Lucchini finishes all the way down in 28th. Did not manage energy very well during the race. Ran near the top, but falls all the way down to 28th at the finish. Sanchez finishes 29th, and Alejandro Tres Palacios will round out the order in 30th. That concludes the race. We do have a few interviews lined up, but we will take a break for just a few moments. We will be back with you shortly. We are back for round one of the Master Race Car E-Challenge 2022 season, the second season of the MRC E-Challenge. After a very exciting race and an even more exciting conclusion, we've got Sean Lee joining us in the commentary box in just a moment. There we go. We have Sean Lee in the box. Sean, you qualified in the top spot. You were quick in the pre-qualifying session. You got the pole and super pole. You lost first spot at the start of the very first lap of the race, and then got it back from Gabor and then dominated. But I think what everyone will be talking about are the final two laps of that race. You had it totally in control, and then it all came undone. What happened there, buddy?
Hey Travis, thanks. Yeah, I mean the car was feeling really great. Credits of course to the Gushkas, or as we all know, accident. His setup was perfect. Yeah, about the race, the start was I was on more of a aggressive clutch because of my mouse, so I have to turn it down a bit. If not, then I'll be just slagging everywhere. So the start was poor. But I got back because we were both quite saving through the first part of the lap, and I just gassed it a bit more. So after that, then when I pulled out the gap, I just managed the pace a bit, because during the practice things, like we all did, it was about 3% or like 3% maximum, or like 3.05. So I was around like 2.9 to 3.0, managing the gap. When I saw it close, I went up more. Yeah, and I not sure how I went up. I mean, calculations say I would have finished. I think I was short by like 0.3%. I mean, to make it up the hill. I conked out before the hill. So yeah, it was unfortunate, of course. I don't know. I followed the formula, so I should have finished. I was looking at the fuel gauge going down, and I was like, yeah, it will make it. But yeah, it turns out, I guess fate was on my side.
Yeah, and I think the talk of the town will be the series of collisions with Yumi Virtanen on the final laps of the race. There, you two into each other and in the barriers a lot on the final lap of the race. What's your view?
Yeah, I'm going to just put it out on the stream here. If I get a penalty for that, then he should get a penalty for that at the final penultimate corner, because I mean, he was coming alongside Fang. He got more fuel. I mean, energy. So he came up on the outside on the final corner. I just added a bit more gas just to get alongside him. He broke really late, then squeezed me to the inside. I mean, I have 300 ping. I'm not going to give it up because it's the lead of the race. I stuck my nose there and he just turned in. So, I mean, we were both pretty parallel to the inside. I mean, at that angle, there was only space for one car. So, I mean, unless what I was trying to do was make him not turn in, but he turned in. So, yeah, his car flew because of my ping. On the main straight, I waited for him to catch up. I let down the gas. So, yeah, then he caught me up again, and we had a pretty awesome battle on the final section. And then, well, he tried to dive down the inside. I did the same thing, like pinched him on the apex, and I got punctured as well. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we got the message from Rate Control there at the end that they will be investigating that. So you may or may not see something from them after they finish all the reviews. So, Sean, disappointing end after you dominated the race, but we do thank you for joining us in the box. We've got another interview coming up. We will talk to Adam Brown. Adam, that looked really good from the start, and then it went wrong with the drive-through penalty, and then you fought your way back, but it looked like you just didn't leave quite enough margin. Talk about your race.
Yeah, the start, it was good. You know, I got a good launch, gained a few places, got a few more in the next couple of laps, and then I had like an incident with Texas, which, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think I should have got a drive-through for it, so I'm gonna go to the stewards for that one. But yeah, you lose an extra 2 or 3% of charge taking a drive-through, and also the fact we had a safety car. If we hadn't had a safety car, because you use more charge in a safety car. So if that hadn't happened, if there had been a safety car and there hadn't got a drive-through, I felt really confident with my pace, with myself.
Yeah, I think the consolation prize is you took the quickest lap of the race. You were on a mighty charge there after your drive-through penalty. So you finished down the order because you ran out of energy, but it must feel good to know that you've got pace in your hands and pace in the car.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I didn't have the fastest lap in qualifying by any stretch of the imagination, but at race pace, I mean, I need to account for safety cars and for other unforeseen events, but I think pretty confident with my race pace going into the next round.
Yeah, you showed you had a fantastic ability moving through the traffic on there. So how are you feeling about the car and the series?
The car, it was very strange to get used to, as with a lot of the modded cars, because it's brand new. But it's great fun to drive, especially on the slick tires, or grip with them. And the series, it's a really fun idea. I like the idea of having to save your energy, conserve it. It's great fun.
Good. Yeah, we talked before or during the race that it looked a little bit like driving LX6s out there with the amount of torque and the lack of grip. Curious if that's an apt comparison or if it's way off.
Pretty similar. It's definitely much more twitchy right at the bottom of the range, but once the LX6, even when you're going like 80 miles an hour, can start spinning up, whereas this, after about 50 miles an hour, it's got pretty decent grip. So it's quite interesting.
All right. Well, thanks for your insight. Sorry it didn't go your way today, but you did put on impressive performance, gave us a lot to watch and a lot to talk about, and we wish you the best in the next event.
Thank you very much. See ya.
Of course. All right, I think that will do it for us today. Tom, your final thoughts on this extremely exciting first round of the 2022 MRCE Challenge.
Yeah, this was a fantastic race to watch. There's so many cars on track, and there was constant action going on all over the place. The charge thing with these electronic cars made it a very interesting experience to see how the strategy for the different drivers was going to unfold, and it was clear to see that some of them just weren't able to quite get it right, which resulted in quite a few cars dropping out through running out of charge. The closeness of the racing through from start to finish really was incredible to watch. I don't think I've watched a race where it's been so intense the whole way through before like that one was. It was really impressive to watch, and the driving was really good all the way through.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It's been fun to see the kind of tactical driving and the slight variations that the different drivers can make. So I think that will do it for us today. We will look at the calendar in just a moment. This was the first round. The second round is coming up in about a month's time, February 6, 2022. I guess that's 3 weeks away. Same time, Southwest City. So another custom layout here on the South City circuit. And then the final round will be 2 weeks after that on February 20th. The New York E-Prix replica. This is a near as perfect as you can get in Live for Speed, a replica of the New York E-Prix circuit. So that will be a lot of fun to bring something that looks like a real circuit into Live for Speed. Maybe the first time we've done that. We'll make a correction. Oh, I've already gotten the correction in my ear. We ran this in 2020. So excited to see that one in about a month's time. I think that will do it for us today. Thank you, Tom Jones, for joining me in the booth here. My name is Travis Mehlinger. The SimBroadcast.tv broadcast crew is Peter Butcher in the background working the broadcast with Elmo in our ears. He has also made the great cameras that you see. I want to thank the NDR team and the MRC team for putting on an excellent event. This one has been very exciting for us. And Michael Malik is the author of this custom layout. Thanks very much to him. That was a lot of fun to watch. Once again, special thanks to the MRC crew and NDR crew for putting on this event. We've had a lot of fun bringing it to you, and we hope to see you next time. Everybody be safe, be well, and have a great day. Thank you.